Radio Sultanate of Oman, 90.4 FM, and the Sultan Qaboos Center for Islamic Culture presents 2012 Season 3 of Reaching Out Through Dialogue, presented by Hatem Al-Abdissalam, hosting a group of intellectuals and experts from different fields. Don't miss the interesting discussions on science, comparative religion, culture, education, human behavior, and social issues. Reaching out through dialogue. Only in the holy month of Ramadan.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Master of the Day of Judgment, and peace and blessings be upon His Messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. O Allah, accept our fasting, prayers and supplications. O Allah, grant us knowledge, wisdom and sincerity. Dear listeners, I am your host Hatem Al-Abdissalam. I salute you all with the salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please join me in welcoming our distinguished guest, Mrs. Farha Zahir Al-Kindi, who is a senior fisheries specialist at the Ministry of Fisheries and also one of the co-founders of Multaqa Al-Zuhur. Assalamu alaikum, Sis Farha.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. It's an honor to have you on the show for the very first time, and I hope our audience will benefit from today's topic, inshallah.
I also thank you for inviting me, you and Zahra Al-Kindi, for this program. Inshallah, parents will learn a lot today, inshallah.
Inshallah. Now, today we have a very interesting topic, which is a book in every hand. Tell us a bit about this title and why is this topic important?
Yeah, since you have mentioned just now that I am a founder of Multaqa Zuhur, and we have been working since 2002 with the parents. Mainly we used to do programs for girls during summer. So from that time we got to meet different parents and listen to different problems. And one of the problems was reading, unfortunately. And we were very surprised to hear that. But then they started to talk about that their children are having a problem in reading and learning as well, different stages of their life. So we thought maybe we can do something about it. And fortunately, there was one parent that she herself had a son who was suffering from dyslexia or learning difficulties. And she really encouraged us to start a program or to start thinking how can we help. And since then, we started really to look on how to help those kids who are having problems in readings.
Now, why is it so important to encourage children to read? They can just be like any other children, and by time they will learn reading.
Reading is very important. Actually, why do we read at first place? There is a say, but in Arabic, we read to learn and we learn to read.
Yes.
So without reading, it will be very difficult for a child to learn. So he needs to know it's one kind of a communication to the world, to learn about his environment, his tradition, his health.
And even basic skills.
Yes,
for
exactly.
For you to be able to learn basic skills, you need to read as well.
Can you imagine walking on the street and finding boards that telling you can go to Suhar and you don't know how to read? So how can you go as an adult?
Yeah.
And you're a foreigner at that place. So what about a child? So it is a necessity. He needs to learn how to cope with his life by reading and understanding what is he reading.
Some parents would have an argument that kids are always surrounded with their parents and their parents will do the reading on their behalf. But as you know, kids need to develop their independency.
Exactly.
Yeah, and need to do things on their own.
Yes, yes. Actually, what you are saying is not really true, because some parents unfortunately cannot read. They are illiterate, did not go to school.
Yes.
And then some of them, they have some disabilities, like they are deaf or they cannot speak. So who's going to do the reading for the child? So he needs to learn to read.
And also you find children are very curious about things. They always want to know new things. They want to find out, what do things mean?
Yes, yes.
And if you notice, if we have kids at the first grade or second grade, when they're first learning how to read, when you take them into the car, when you pass by a shop or something, they will try and read the board.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I'll read the numbers on the plate number.
Yes, actually we say that reading is a food. It's a mind food for the children. You want a child to learn different things around him. In addition, you want to minimize the feeling of loneliness sometime for the child. So it also helps him to be creative, to be imaginary. Why do we have a lot of stories in the bookshops? And just to help the child to be more creative and to learn more. Because you as parents, sometimes you have time, sometimes you don't have time to sit with them.
Yes.
So a book is the best friend for him.
And for sure, Almighty Allah has created a section in our brains that's specially meant for creativity and imagination. And if we don't utilize this part of our brain, then we lose that benefit
Exactly.
that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us.
Exactly. As you recite in Surah Al-Alaq, that the first ayah that says, اقرأ.
اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق.
Read in the name of your Lord who created. And then he said, the fifth ayah,
اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم.
who taught to write with pen, and then taught man what he knew not. So imagine the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have taught our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to read. That to emphasize the importance of reading in our life. Although Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not read at that time, but it was repeated on him. Read.
As many would notice that Almighty Allah could have revealed the first verse and said, pray, or worship,
Exactly.
or fast,
Exactly.
or give charity. But He revealed the first verse, which was read or recite,
Exactly.
indicating to the importance of knowledge, with the importance of finding out facts, importance of reading, exploring, contemplating. And if you're not able to read, you will not be able to connect with the rest of the universe, with the rest of the creation of Almighty Allah. So this is very, very important to all human beings to learn how to read.
Actually, my son was just reading something that did not come to my mind till I was preparing this program. He was telling me, why do we learn? And then in the paragraph that he was reading, it was saying that animals, like ants, they do their work the same way since they were created on earth. Like
Every single day they do the same task.
thing. But human being, not. And that is the difference between us and the animals. We have the brains. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given us the ability to read and to find knowledge and
The ability to
look.
learn as well.
Exactly. And that is the difference between us and animal in part of learning and how to benefit from learning and how to improve our learning skills.
Now, Sister Farha, what are the types of reading?
We have a lot of types of reading. We read to learn. We read to have fun. Yeah, sometimes we only read to enjoy.
So
And
like if we read magazines,
yes, we just want to have fun. We just have to learn something funny or just to have relaxation time with ourselves.
or we're attracted to a particular hobby, or
Exactly.
like some youngsters, you'll find them reading sports magazines or car magazines
Yes.
or fashion magazines.
Yes.
It's like a hobby, and
Yes.
they always want to be updated in that field.
Yes, exactly. That will depend on what is he or she is interested
in.
Yes. And we also learn to improve our knowledge. Okay, we have known something, or we want to learn about as simple as a machinery. You bought a new machine, a new what you call
Equipment.
a phone, yes. and you want to learn how to use it. What do you do?
You read.
Exactly. As a mother, you want to learn how to cook a new food. What you do? You buy a new book.
And now that we're in the month of Ramadan, you're
Exactly.
mentioning food, it's very torturing.
Exactly. So
no, but
it's-
you're absolutely right that it's very, very essential at every stage of our life to learn something.
yes,
And the most traditional way of learning is reading. And people still prefer it.
yes. Although now technology is playing a big role in our life. Unfortunately, the games, PlayStation, it's really taking away the interest of reading from our children. But us as a parents, we should be aware of that. That is very important. We should set timing or try to find a way to attract our children towards reading. Whether by using internet or using books, we need to change our way of
Or
encouraging.
encouraging them through incentives, maybe.
Yes, yes. Because now we cannot ignore the role of technology, the role of computer, the role of TV program, endless TV programs.
We don't want our kids to go to school and read or learn for the sake of just going to school.
Yes,
We want them to like learning, to enjoy learning.
yes, we want to let them know the importance of reading as it is. You need to learn because you need to live and learn new things in your life.
Yes.
Okay, if you go in a place or you are traveling, for example, and you cannot even read the direction at the airport, what are you going to do? Are you going to ask every moment of your life where I'm going?
You'll be quite lost.
Exactly. So they need to understand the importance of reading at first. Then we start encouraging them. Of course, there are so many ways of encouraging, like buying different books at different stages. Parents should be aware that he cannot bring a big book to a small child. No, he should try to visit book exhibitions, for example, and also take him with him.
And let the kid choose their own books.
Exactly. And it's for the parents also to know what interests his child. He cannot buy whatever interests him.
Yes.
No, but the child has his own interest. He can buy something about cars if he's a boy, or football, or fashion design for the girls. So the way forward is just to let him read, to encourage him read with different magazine, different books, but each age should be different books. He should read different things.
And I think books have developed so much in the past years. Now you have books which are very colorful, with a lot of graphics and amazing stories which attract the younger generation.
Exactly.
The only thing which is lacking is the parents to encourage them to read, to go and buy a book, and to value the importance of a book.
Yeah, not only buying, but they also need to read with them.
Yes.
Yeah, at first stage, the parents should sit and read with the child.
Someone was complaining to a reading instructor that my kids, I buy them a lot of books and they don't read. And the instructor asked a very simple question: how many books do you read a week? And he said, I never read. He said, how can you encourage your kids to read while you are not reading? So I think setting the example is also very, very important. And normally kids like to imitate their parents.
Yes.
So whatever their parents do, they would do also.
Yes.
So if the parents are in the habit of reading, okay, automatically the kids will have their curiosity to find out what is it all about.
Yes.
Why do they have their own books? I don't have a book. I want to get one book as well.
Yes.
I want to read with them.
Yes. Sometimes even they can be so curious that they would want to read your book instead of their books.
Yes.
Yes. So that's another way of encouraging children to read. The parents should read, actually, and they should read in front of them.
Yes.
Sometimes parents do read, but in their rooms, for example, or in their offices. No, sometimes they have to read at their living room where the child goes around and see them. That is very important. In addition, we need to prepare their rooms to encourage them reading. They need to have their own bookshelves or a small library where they have the right or the freedom to choose whatever they would like and to organize it.
Like a reading corner.
Yes, yes. And not only that, in each room, if you can afford, of course, to have small shelves in each room, then it's better for the girls, and the boys are different. Then you buy with them and you sort your books every time and you choose every night which book to read. Yes. And then sometime now in Ramadan, subhanallah, before that, we can start reading books about Ramadan itself. We take advantage of each event.
Educating them.
Yes, but we also, like National Day, then we read something about Oman, about history. Every time we bring something at that time that fits the timing.
This also gives the children an excitement for the process of learning. Because if you take them through every single day the same material, they get bored.
Exactly.
Even adults get bored.
Yes, yes.
So you brought up a very good idea, which is always whenever there is an occasion, you read about that occasion and you explain to your kids and you chat about it and you discuss, and you will be amazed at how much they learn and how much they become interactive with you.
Exactly, exactly. Actually, the reading part should not be only in the rooms or at schools. The reading can be anywhere. In the car, in the plane, waiting for the doctor. If the parents can have small books for their children in their bag, it's even better. So anytime there is some time, then they can sit and read something.
You're emphasizing on a very, very important aspect, which is time.
Management.
Time is very, very important and is essential in our life. And nobody can increase the time. All of us have 24 hours. Nobody has 25. And if you don't utilize the 24 hours that you have in the best way, then it's a total waste.
Actually, if you think about it, you have habits. You as parents, you have habits, daily habits. You bath, you clean, you drive, you eat. If parents can show that certain time of your day you read, then automatically it will become a habit to a child.
Yes.
Whenever he sees you, this time my father is reading, or my mother, it's time for her to read. Or whenever you sit and wait for the doctor, you take out a book and read, then he will feel, this is very important.
Yes. You mentioned something very, very important at the beginning of our session, and you said that reading is the food of thought. What did you mean by that?
A child builds his personality through reading. If he reads books with development of personal skills, how to be positive, how to be creative, how to give to society, then he builds his personality. Then whenever he grows, then this is the way he's going to see himself.
Now we'll get into today's topic, which is the reading skills. What do we mean by reading skills, or what are the reading skills?
Reading skills means to improve the way the child is reading. Also to understand what is he reading and expressing what he have read. Because we have so many problems. There are children who cannot read properly, do not know the difference of the letters. That is one part. And some children would read very well, but wouldn't understand what he is reading. Okay, some of them would understand, would come to the point that he can understand what is he reading, but he cannot express what he read. He cannot tell you.
Okay, so these are the categories.
Yes. He should be able to recognize the letters, and he should read them well, pronounce them well, and understand what he read, and express what he read.
What he read.
Yes.
You know, I never thought of it that way, because we always tend to have an idea that as long as my kid knows how to read fluently, then that's enough. You don't ask them about what they read. You don't ask them if they understood. It's just what is important is they can read.
You will be so surprised.
But you exposed to us a very important fact that there are different elements when it comes to reading, and
Exactly.
we should take into account all these things that are important.
Because some children will be just reading fluently, but when you just take one word out of what he read and ask him what is the meaning, he will surprise you. Cannot tell you what is the meaning of that word. Then you have to realize that, okay, it's time for me to do something.
To do something.
Yes, yes.
Sister Farha, what kind of preparation of reading is needed?
Of course, as I mentioned before, we need to prepare their rooms, the place that they should read, as well as lights. For example, if the room has dim light, then you need to buy small lights for their reading,
Yeah.
so they don't feel uncomfortable while they're reading.
Okay.
And you should make him comfortable. You cannot tell him to read all the time as well. You have to find time where it's comfortable for him. He doesn't have homeworks, or he's not playing with his friends or toys, or you have to have a specific time where he reads with you or with the family, and it should not be that long.
What would be the ideal time for the kid to read?
You have to start with only 10 minutes per day.
10 minutes per day.
Only.
Okay.
Yes. Because then when you start reading with him, you'll find out that he cannot read well, and you should not
Force him.
Yes, you should not force him, but you should read the words that he cannot read for him. So he should understand the story fluently. Because when you force him, then he would feel so stressed because he cannot read, he cannot enjoy understanding the story. Then he will start running away from the parents.
What do you do to kids who are quite smart? They enjoy their parents reading the whole story for them, and they prefer, whenever you ask them to read, they will say, no, you read it. You can read it better than me, so you go ahead and read it.
Yes, that is a problem, but you should also be clever than him. Tell him, okay, we'll switch the turns. I will read one sentence, you read the other sentence.
Okay.
And somehow you make it as a game, instead of him feeling it's...
Make it enjoyable.
Yes, enjoyable for him. And maybe you should not read only one-to-one. You can have 4 or 5 people all
As a
reading.
group.
Yes.
As a group.
You reminded me like reading Quran. Also people do that at mosques.
In a group.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you should do that the same with your child at home.
What happens when you have a kid who is always distracted? You know, some kids are very hyperactive and they cannot sit in a particular place for more than a minute.
Yes.
And they might be very intelligent, but they have a problem of focusing.
Yes, now
cannot focus.
Maybe we have to go to the children who do not benefit of the normal way of reading. Some of them are hyperactive, as you said.
Yes.
Those children need special care, actually. Normally the parents cannot do much by themselves. They need a specialist to guide them how to set a program for him at school or at home.
Yes.
Yeah, because that problem is not very easy for the parents to manage.
Now, Sister Farha, take us through the constraints of reading.
There are so many constraints of reading. Actually, if you can think about it, you are sitting in a living room and the TV is on. The computer maybe is near you, and maybe the telephone is ringing. So there are a lot of things going on. Distractions in the environment, which cannot really give a child peace of mind, if you wish, to think of reading. There is always something going on in that place. So you would want to have a place where it's somehow quiet and welcoming. And try to switch off the phone. Make sure that you have, if 10 minutes pure, with no distractions.
So like having a special place at home where you have a comfortable zone for reading.
Exactly.
And then you make sure as a parent not to contribute in distracting the kid.
Exactly.
By, for example, switching off your phone.
Or talking to the phone by yourself. You're talking and tell him, okay, read, and you are still talking on the phone.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
No, not at all. Because part of the reading is communication between the parents and the child. So if you're going to lose that, he's going to lose his interest
Yes.
to
Definitely.
sit and to listen to you. And the other distractions of reading, that some children do have problems, serious problems. For example, he cannot see well, or he cannot hear well, or he is ill and the parents doesn't know.
Yes.
Or something is bothering him. He's hungry. He wants to go to the toilet
All these things
Yes.
we should take into consideration.
because he's a child.
Yes.
So if the parents can always ask him, if he sees that he is not in order, if you wish, ask him some questions. Do you want this? Do you want that? For him to be able to express his feelings and his needs before he starts this session, it would be much better
Much better.
for both of them.
Sister Farha, what is the role of technology in encouraging our kids to read?
Technology nowadays, there are so many reading programs in the internet, or they can go to different shops or book exhibitions. There are so many CDs that are now in the market where parents can also buy if they feel that the child does not like paper books. He's always rejecting paper books.
Paper books.
Yes. So they can try to buy those CDs and encouraging him. But also the parents should be there with him. Always the parents contributes his time to the child, to encouraging him to read and to get interest. And sometimes you can only look in the internet and write story, like whatever story he likes.
Because the younger generation now are more keen into technology. So if you have, for example, an iPad and you have books in the iPad.
Yes, yes.
and
Actually, you can download right now.
And you have an actual
Exactly,
book, paper
exactly.
book. Normally your kids will prefer using the iPad.
Yes, yes.
Does this have any effect later on for them preferring to have these electronic equipment instead of the regular book? Or is it it's normal as long as they are learning?
Actually, because now they become so hooked into the games and electronics,
Yeah.
so it's like a battle.
It's difficult to
Yes.
get them back to the normal books.
Exactly. And so many parents are complaining about that my child spends hours and hours in the games, does not want to come out from it.
Yes.
So, to be honest, it's for me somehow it's distracting to improve the skills of reading to the child. But what else you can do? You need to compromise.
Yes.
Then you do part CD, part books.
Yes.
If it's going to be easy for him to accept
Or maybe
that.
or maybe use the system of reward to them. If you say, if you read this book today, 2 pages of this book, then you get 10 minutes of playing on the iPad, for example. And you compromise with them in such a way that they can get both.
Yes, yes, you can have all of these ideas and negotiate with him and agree with the child. If, 1 hour this and 10 minutes this,
Yeah.
you only need 10 or 20 minutes maximum to get him focused, because you want him focused with you. You don't want him to read a lot.
A lot, yeah.
And he gets bored that one day and he doesn't want to see you for the rest of the week. So you want to give him bits of reading instead of giving him a lot of reading. And run away from you.
Yes. Now, Sister Farha, for sure our audience would like to know what would be the right age to start teaching your child reading.
Very early age, child from first year, second year, there are special books for them. The idea of buying books for those kids is to get them used to touch the book.
So you mean infants?
Infants,
yes. The babies,
yes,
you can buy
yes.
them books which are made out of special material.
Exactly.
The shapes are big.
Exactly.
So that they can get used
and
to...
hard, so they don't get to be spoiled very fast. So parents should buy books very early age. They should not wait till they are 6 or 7 years. No, slowly they buy different books while they are young. And also they can buy letters. And alhamdulillah, now there are a variety of books in the bookshop, especially when the book exhibition comes each year. Arabic books, English books, very different variety.
Yes.
Just to get the child touch the book, he needs to get into a habit of touching the book. instead of tearing your parents' book.
Now, Sister Farha, I will deviate a little bit out of today's topic, but it's within the topic. Now, if you see in the kindergarten or the primary schools, you would find that the schools emphasize on writing more than reading. So most of the homework of the kids are based on writing, developing their writing skills. Does this contribute in them learning how to read, or is it a total different thing?
Actually, the writing part has to do with practicing the child how to hold the pen and how to write. But basically, they don't expect the child to know how to write that much at that age. It's only practicing him to catch the pen, as I mentioned before. But reading comes, sometimes they use songs, sometimes rhythms, just for him to be attracted to the ABCD or to the Alif Ba, first of all. And then slowly they start to connect the word to the animals, for example, because the animals are very close to the children. Yes, so they start connecting like a apple or some kind of vegetable or fruits or animals. So the child slowly gets into to know the alphabets.
That this letter is related to this particular animal.
Yes. So he can keep his memory to that sound.
Sister Farha, what is meant by learning difficulty?
Learning difficulties is a word expressed in different words, if you wish. Some children are poor in reading. Some children, actually, they read, but they don't read fluently. They are missing some words. They add some letters in the words. We can say some of them do not have the initiative to like to read. And some of them have some problem with health connected with them.
Yes.
So they go through this learning difficulties.
You mentioned a word at the very beginning of this show, which is dyslexia.
Yes.
What did you mean by this word?
This word originally is a Greek word, is composed of dys, which means difficulty, and lexia means the printed word, difficulty in decoding the printed word. Meaning, or the other meaning is the blindness of word. That the child would read a word, but then would miss some letters in between. So it can also means that he cannot read the words properly.
Is there a difference between poor reading and dyslexia?
Actually, the kids who have poor reading are due to many factors, such as low of mental abilities, poor auditory and visual acuity. But children with dyslexia are above the average of mental ability, and sometimes even some of them are characterized with talent in several areas, such as sports, acting, drawing, singing, and computer games. If we can go back and give examples of those gifted people who suffered from dyslexia, would be Walt Disney, would be Thomas Edison, would be Einstein, and Graham Bell.
So what you mean to say, if you are suffering from dyslexia, you can still be a regular person, and you can be a producer, you can be
a creative. Exactly. You can be very famous sometime, because the only problem is reading, but they are sometimes much more intelligent than the normal people.
Now, what are the symptoms or signs of dyslexia? So if I have a child at home, and what are the things that I should look for to make sure that my kid is not suffering from dyslexia?
We have a lot of indicators, actually. There are symptoms that come with preschool, and then during the school time, and then even afterwards. The child may not be able to recognize coordination, for example, the right and the left side. Then, as a parent, you should really check whether he has a problem or not. And sometimes he would leave letters out of words, as I said before. And For example, difficulty in isolating the sounds, like cat. He would switch the sound and switch the words. Yeah. For example, he would also have problem understanding what he read. As I said, okay, he will struggle maybe reading, but when he reads, then he cannot understand what he read. And also he would have problem with grasping the pencil. And in his handwriting, you will find some letters are missing in his writings, or switching the whole word.
I came across a child who is almost 6 years old, and she writes all the letters the opposite direction.
Exactly.
And she sees like a mirror.
Exactly.
Is this also dyslexia?
Yes. And what the specialist does, she takes a mirror and reads what they're writing. And they show him to the child. This is the right way. What you are writing is not the right way. So he will go, or she will go through a lot of practice to switch. Yes, yes. So it's somehow something to do with their brains, which are different from normal children. They read differently. Sometimes they really cannot see the letters, or they see the letters moving from the board. So they have difficulties really to read the word, or to copy that word from the blackboard to the book.
Now you mentioned preschooling and after schooling. So what are the difference between these?
Sometime when you play a small ball with a small child, if the child cannot catch every time,
yes,
then maybe he has a problem. And sometime they would be really late in walking or talking. Sometimes they take really long time to talk. Then the parents should get some specialist to see him.
Like a speech therapist?
Yes, like a speech therapist. If, for example, till 4 years old, he cannot speak, or he speaks with little words only, then the parents should consult a
specialist.
Yes, exactly. Excessive tripping or bumping into things and falling over also. That means he has problem with the direction. Yeah? Or somehow balancing his body. So he needs to be seen by a specialist. Also sometimes difficult in getting dressed and putting shoes on the correct fit. Or also tying his shoelace is also a problem for him.
It's a problem.
Yes. And also sometimes even organizing, when he gets into school, organizing his books in order according to the schedule. He cannot do that. Then if you ask him, can you tell me the days from Saturday, the sequence, how do you say Saturday, Sunday? If he cannot do that, then he is also might have symptoms of dyslexia.
Sister Farha, what is the best way to face learning problems?
Actually, the first thing, parents should consult a physician, a normal physician, to check if the child doesn't have any health problems like sight or hearing or any other health problem that
or
the child... Or
disability.
Yes, or disability. Or even when he was very young, there was some problem in birth.
Yes.
During the birth also. The mother and the father should have some memory.
Yes.
What happened to the child when they were young. And talk to the physician and make sure that they don't have any physical problems. That is the first step they should do. And then still, if they clear up that the child does not have any physical problem, then they should see an educational psychologist who should have a good knowledge of dyslexia, or a trained teacher that can give really a plan how to help the child, to give him educational plan, and from where he's going to start learning again, like rehabilitation, if you wish.
Now, I forgot to ask you in the very beginning, what is the cause of dyslexia?
Actually, it's neurologically based, often inherited.
Inherited?
Yes, which interferes with acquisition and processing of language. So sometime if you ask the parents, did anyone in your family had any problem like this? You'll find out his uncles or his aunties or his father, the grandfather. So then it becomes very clear that it's inherited in the family.
So I understand from this that dyslexia can continue until an older age. It's not curable.
It's not curable, but it is controlled, meaning that the child, once he knows what is his weaknesses and strength, then he can use his strength to overcome his weaknesses. Then he can continue to read and to learn like any other children, but with some
Support,
yes.
Sister Farha, is there one type of dyslexia or are there many kinds of dyslexia?
No, actually there are so many kind of dyslexia. What I have here, I will only mention like 4, which is dyspraxia, a problem with coordination, dyscalculia, problem with math, dysgraphia, problems with writing, dysphasia, speech difficulties, and some associated problem like attention deficit or attention of deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, and so on. So the child can have one of these problems or 2 or 3 or most of them.
Or most of them.
Yeah, he cannot coordinate, he cannot write, he cannot read. So he needs then to see educational physiologist who can really give a good picture on his difficulty.
Sister Farha, what do we mean by non-language indicators?
Sometimes a child will surprise the parents because he or she can speak very well, is a bright child, and yet cannot read. And also she or he lacks confidence and has poor self-image. Actually, one of the parents was telling us that his kid used to stay under the table all the time. He wouldn't want to come out and sit and listen to the teacher. So it took the teacher so long just to take him out from his low self-esteem. So it's important to see his personality. Why is he like that?
That way.
Yes, that way. And also, he's also having difficulty in listening and following in directions. If you tell him like 5 steps, do this and do that, by the time he comes to the 3rd one, he forgotten the first and the second one. Then that's what it means, non-language. Just the daily routines or the daily action that we teach our children every day.
Now, what should be done to help these children, Sister Farha?
Again, as I said, Alhamdulillah, now we have a lot of centers around in Oman that are working hard toward helping those children. They can also visit them and learn more about what can they do about it. We also have SQU, Sultan Qaboos University, who also have a section where parents can go and ask about what can they do about their learning difficulties child.
What do you advise parents with children that are facing difficulty in reading?
Yes, actually parents should be first of all aware of the problem, should not be aggressive with the child.
Sometimes you would tend to feel that your child is doing it on
purpose.
On purpose.
Yes, that is not true. That is not true. That is very important to realize that he wants to learn like his friends and he needs help and it's not his fault. That is very important for the parents to understand.
Yes.
It's not his fault that he cannot read.
Because sometimes parents go to an extent to call their kids with names like stupid
yes,
and things like that.
Yes.
And it really hurts the child and it's not helping in any way.
Actually, we had a lot of children who really lost confidence because of those words. Those words are very, very negative to their personality, to build their personality.
Yes.
So the first thing they should be aware, they should try to read by themselves about this problem. And they should try
Consult.
to consult. Yes, either to go to the school, to the teacher and talk. But if he finds that the teacher is not fully aware of the problem, then he should try to find centers. We have like Reading Development Skill Center who can also give help to those kind of children. But it's very important for the parents to be patient. A child can spend 3 months rehabilitation, or 6 months, or 1 year, or even 3 years. It all depends
On the parents.
on the child's difficulty, how severe it is. It can be mild, it can be very
severe.
So they have to be very patient, and they need to visit the school. And if the child is already in one of the centers, then he needs to talk to the teacher about what is he going through. So then the teacher would have a different program for him, other than the same program with the same children. Yes.
Sometimes parents tend to compare their kids with other kids. And this also leads to many problems, because if you have a child which has difficulty in learning or reading, and then you compare it with other kids who are normal or who are smart, and then you would pressure your kid into
Actually,
becoming like them.
Yes, that is not a good idea, even with a normal child, not only with dyslexic children. No, even with a normal child. Why? Because every one of us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given him something different from the other.
Yes.
If he is good in that, you can be good in something else. So that's why we have different careers, we have different positions. We are not all managers, we are not all doctors. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wanted us to be different. So the parents should accept their child as he is, only noting that the child is not lazing out.
By this difference, we complement each other.
Exactly. So it is very important not to compare the children to each other, whether he's having difficulty or he's a normal child.
Any last words of advice to our audience in terms of this topic? And where would you guide them to go, or what do you guide them to do in case they come across a kid who has dyslexia?
Yes, actually, the first thing is, I repeat again, they should see a physician to check if the child do not have any problem, physical problem. That is the first step. If his sights are okay, his hearing okay, sometimes he's ill, the parents should check first and make sure that the child do not have any illness or disabilities.
Yes.
Then from there, he can go to so many centers right now. They have special teachers who can help their children, like Reading Skill Center, as I mentioned, and can also go into the internet and write dyslexia, just to learn first about it.
To get information about
exactly, and whether his dyslexia. Child has some symptoms of that.
You don't know how to categorize it.
No, I would not want to call it as disability, because it's something that is not, but it's something that a child can overcome it very fast.
Yes.
And live normal life.
Sister Farha bint Zahir Al-Kindi, thank you so much for being with us. I'm sure our audience have enjoyed today's session, have learned something. I myself have learned a lot from today's session, and I hope the well-being of all our children, and may Allah bless you all, inshallah.
Thank you very much again for inviting me today, and I'm very pleased to be here with you. Thank you.
Dear listeners, I'm your host Hatim Al-Absalam, signing off for today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You have been listening to Reaching Out Through Dialogue.